Go
Live.
live. Go live. Go
Go
live.
live. Go live. Go
What's up?
live.
What's up? What's up?
What
How's
it be
everybody
like?
doing?
Hey, what's going on, people?
Bro
What it be
Nate.
like, my brother? What it be like?
Nothing much, man. Nothing much. We um we are live
It's
again.
once again.
And
As
we do not have our counterpart,
yeah,
Jeremy,
yeah.
Jake.
Jake was not feeling too well. He said, and
Yeah.
he thought he might be able to try to come on, and if he does, he'll join us. If not, we wish him well, and we'll see him next time.
Yeah.
But y'all keep him in your prayers. He's having some issues with his eyes and some other things. So, um, yeah, we'll miss you, Jake.
Yeah.
I know you listening. We miss you, bro.
Yeah, you better be listening, Jake. Don't get no time off, man. Come on now.
Right,
Come on. So how was it? How was the week, Nate?
man. You know, I
Besides the fact that MSU got stomped.
man, we're not even gonna talk about that.
Woo! I thought that was the
MSU
Lions
MSU
playing.
they got their tails handed to them.
Yes, they did, bro.
Man, I turned it on. It was the first quarter, right? The first half rather, and it was first quarter, the first half. I'm like, wait a minute, 49 and nothing,
To nothing, man.
and that was only the first half.
Yes.
And so I watched the whole game, trying to be a true blue fan, but man, it did not look good for MSU on Saturday. I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know what happened. I know Ohio State is a great team, but I
Yeah.
thought MSU was going to come stand up, come better than that. I thought they were.
Man.
Yeah, it was
I think
terrible.
I think they was it about 2 weeks? I think they're still on that high from beating Michigan.
Man, that don't last.
I'm just saying, man. It just
That don't
seems like
last.
it. It just seems like it.
And I guess my man, the coach, because of that Michigan win, they gave him all these multi-million dollars of bonus and raise.
Big time extension.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So he yeah, I told Michelle, my wife, I was like, don't give them that money until the season is over. Let's see what else they're gonna do. You get
Exactly.
that kind of money when you win. So they'll still go to a bowl game, but Ohio State really hurt them in the Big Ten. But yeah, my week went by quick. I just realized on Friday, this past Friday, I just realized that Thanksgiving is this week.
Yep, it is, man.
I didn't know what was going on with my brain. I was thinking we had time.
Time for what?
I thought we had a couple more weeks
Man.
before Thanksgiving. It's like it's already here. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, today, it's my mother-in-law's 75th birthday,
Oh.
and so her children uh, went to celebrate with her this weekend. They went up to Mount Pleasant and
Mount
hung out
Mount Mount Pleasant.
Mount Pleasant, Michigan. Went to
Wow.
Soaring Eagle, and hung out there and had fun, breakfast, little casino action. And they came back today, and then we did a impromptu dinner. So it was a good weekend, good week.
Wow. So
But
you was hanging out in big CMU
I didn't
country.
go.
Oh, you
Michelle
didn't
went.
go?
I didn't
Oh,
go. I
okay.
stayed behind, and I got a lot of housework done.
Okay.
So
Good deal.
did the lawn and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. What about you, bro? How was your
Dude,
week?
I'll just say this. Yes, Thanksgiving is definitely upon us. I tried to sneak into the grocery store this evening, thinking I'm gonna beat the rush, get me a few things, a few anonymous items that
Hmm.
people, you know, that will still be in the store for right now, like pie shells, um, sweet potatoes, something like that. Dude, stuff was gone already.
Man,
It's Sunday.
man,
What happened to shopping the night before Thanksgiving?
man. Times are different now, man. Times are different. We in that pandemic. People getting stuff early when they can get it. There's no guarantee it's going to be there a day before. So people are like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Even before Thanksgiving, the stuff was starting to disappear. So you know how Meyer does. They get those specials like a week or two before Thanksgiving, and
yeah,
everybody buys it all up. So
yeah.
if
True,
you wait
but
to the last minute, you probably gonna get slim pickings.
yeah, Slim Pickens. You're right. You're right.
Hmm.
So looking forward to Thanksgiving coming up.
Yeah,
spend time with family.
we still trying to figure out what we're gonna do.
Really?
I'm trying to sneak up on us, man.
Wow, bro. But
We still trying to figure
don't
out.
try to go and try to buy nothing now, man.
Right, we gotta do what we can. So we might
Yeah,
have peanut butter. We might do the peanuts, toast, and popcorn and licorice
there you go. There you
for
go. That might be the
Thanksgiving.
way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say, man? I know we got a lot of feedback from last week's show.
Definitely.
So we kind of wanted to take today and kind of wrap up that whole discussion by having a couple of guests on with us.
Okay, sounds good.
Yep. So we'll close out that segment. But before we get started, what do you want to tell people to do? Like,
Well, we would appreciate it if those of you who are watching live, thank you for joining us. If you could hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and share this video with your family and friends. Let people know that we're on. We're talking about why people are leaving the church and looking at some solutions and some reasons. Also, if you want to join us over at anchor.fm/knowledge and power, you can join our podcast there. You can leave us a voice message, and you can also listen to us on your favorite podcast outlets: Spreaker, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, just to name a few. So please save us into your favorite podcast and share with a friend. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring.
sharing is caring. So, hey, we got to get to the point where I remember we first started doing this. We tried to have like a sponsor.
Yeah.
We got to get back to trying to do that. So, if we were to have a sponsor, it would fit in this segment right here.
Right here. Right here. We put
right
the sponsor.
here.
Right here.
So, if we had a sponsor, which we don't, but tonight that sponsor would be, because it's so close to the holidays.
So close.
And when it comes close to the holidays, I normally just kind of binge out and just eat ridiculously.
Do you?
Sweets, not food.
Oh, sweets. Okay.
Yes.
Oh, Lord.
Yes. It would be Krispy Kreme.
Woo!
If we had a sponsor, it would be Krispy Kreme tonight. So thank you, Krispy Kreme, for not being our unofficial sponsor for
Krispy
tonight.
Kreme. That's the reason I got diabetes now, bro.
Dude.
Krispy Kreme. They had it in Lansing for a long time.
You just got to eat in moderation, man.
Man, I couldn't. Them Krispy Kremes was too good, especially when that hot light came on.
Oh, my goodness.
My when goodness. That hot light blink.
Yeah.
Man, it was so good.
So I am due to go and pick up me a dozen Krispy Kremes and polish off between Thanksgiving and Monday.
Just stay active, bro. Just keep your blood sugars down. Stay active.
I'm gonna be active, man. Yes, working remote control. Told you this is the time just to kind of binge, man.
Chill. Holiday. Football, movies. You know what I saw yesterday?
What's that?
On Apple TV has the Peanuts holiday specials.
Ooh.
So I watched the Great Pumpkin and Happy Thanksgiving Peanuts special.
Okay.
Cool. It was pretty cool. It was fun.
I'm gonna say this one segue before we get into our topic.
Okay.
Man, this streaming now has really made things difficult. Because I just noticed how you say it, Apple TV. You know I don't have.
Everybody don't have no Apple TV.
Yeah,
it used to come on broadcast. Now they try not to do that now.
Right. So because of Apple and because of streaming and the way things are right now, I am removed from being able to enjoy the Peanuts game.
You got to catch it. You got to watch your listings and catch it when it's on there for the brief moment that it is.
Not cool, man. I just give me my regular old TV, man. Let's go back to.
Yep, with the TV Guide.
Yes.
I love the TV Guide.
People don't even know what that is, the TV Guide.
TV Guide was a paper booklet published every week that had the programming for the week listed in the guide so you can know what was coming on TV.
That's right.
Ahead of time. So you could plan your week based on your shows that were coming on.
That's right. And you would highlight them.
Mm-hmm. They actually used to be collectible. I don't know if they're still collectible or not, but yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, to get into tonight's topic,
yes,
part 2 of I am leaving the church. Deuces.
I'm leaving the church.
So last week we kind of covered some of the things that we thought were reasons why people left, and we're going to bring our guest on, which I'll let you introduce her first before we bring in our pastor guest. Okay. But some of the reasons that we heard was because of church hurt, because of the context, because of the relevance,
Mm-hmm.
um, because of the lifestyle choice, and church needs to fit people's lifestyle.
Right.
Those are some of the things that we
Some of the
covered
reasons.
last week. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And that was generally from what we shared and some of the comments that
Mm-hmm.
the people shared as they
Right.
listened.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, Nate, I'm going to let you bring on our guests.
Oh, okay. Great. Great. Our next guest is very special to both of us. This is my daughter, Cara, and she agreed to come on and talk about some of the reasons why she, after she left home, decided that going to church was not her thing. Still believes in God, still has a spiritual respect, but just going to church, the actual physical building, um, I'll let her tell in her own words, but she's made that choice not to go, and so I feel honored that she's willing to speak with us
Yeah.
about that today. And if you will all put your hands together for my second daughter, Cara Hall.
Yeah.
Hi, y'all.
Hey, Cara.
Welcome. Welcome.
Hey, beauty queen.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good to see you.
It's going. It's been a minute, Uncle Ray. How are you?
I'm doing great, Cara. We got a lot of catching up to do on both of our sides.
Sorry,
Wink,
excuse
wink.
my
Mm-hmm.
dog. She knows that I'm talking to somebody that's not her.
Oh wow! That's the big one, huh?
That's the big dog, Ray.
That's the one that attacked me, right?
Yeah, the crotch sniffer.
Woo! Lord have
Yeah,
mercy. This one
that's
almost
that
knocked
dog.
me down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Cara, you've heard probably, I don't know if you went back and listened to last week's podcast, so you can
Mm-hmm.
kind of or if you didn't, you know what we've asked you to come on to talk about. So we just kind of want to let you free flow and tell us, what's your feel personally? Why do you think you kind of had to step sideways when it came to church, attending
Okay.
church?
Well, it's not so much that it's like a negativity kind of thing for me wanting to not go to physical church. It's besides there being like a generational gap where like you go to church and it feels like it's like for your parents and their friends and their peers, and like even though there's always youth groups and things of that, but there's like once you get out of like you age out of youth group, which is like high school pretty much. After you get
Yeah.
out of high school, then you have to go to the sanctuary, and going to the sanctuary is then meaning being with the adults. And even though you're technically an adult at that time, the adults are not your age. So it's just, you don't feel like you're supposed to be there.
Really? Okay.
And so it's awkward because it's like, here I am, I'm with my parents, this is my parents' thing. Like, I'm too old for my thing now. And yeah,
Okay.
there have been like more like modern churches where they do try to have a place for um easiest way to say it, millennials.
Mm.
But it's just, I think we find our own way more
Okay.
so than wanting to abide by what it's always been.
Okay. So
If
here's
that
my.
makes sense.
It does. It does. So my question to you, um, just came to mind. Do you think that the step before you get to the sanctuary with the adults, did they? Could it be that you weren't properly prepared? Is the teaching style that different? Should it be remotely closer to what's going on in the sanctuary? I mean, what do you think?
I do think that it's a huge gap. Because I mean, to be honest, when you were in youth group, if you got in trouble, you got sent to the sanctuary. So there's always that
Wow.
idea of the sanctuary is not a fun place. It's not somewhere you want to be. And then
Never
you
thought
grow
of
up
that.
and you age out of the system and are sent and pretty much thrown to the wolves. And that's like sitting in the back of the church being bored
Oh
because
my
like you don't get to
goodness.
do things. And it's that time of your life where, like, for instance, you're graduating high school. Half of you guys are going to college. The other half is going to trade schools, staying home, all these kind of things. And so you go to the sanctuary, and it's like, none of my friends are even here anymore. Or the only times you do get to see them is if you're coming home from college and they're still there. So we all get to meet up at church, but we're not in youth group anymore. So we have to be adults and like have to pay attention to the sanctuary and listening to a sermon that's like meant for the people who are much older than us.
Wow, that is
that's good stuff.
yeah, that's heavy. I never looked.
Yeah, I never looked at it like that either, Ray. The whole you're banished from the banished from the youth room because you got in trouble, banished to the sanctuary.
Yeah,
So what kind of mental emotional dynamics does that create for a young person to see as a result of me misbehaving here, I'm getting sent there. You see what I'm saying?
yeah, I see what you're saying.
And I never even considered that as something that young people would
Yeah, like some people might have
deal
that
with.
idea where it's like a negative connotation being in the sanctuary.
Okay.
And I mean, I don't know if it's because, like, for instance, growing up in like Kojics, where
Oh yeah, Church of God in Christ.
yes, but those are little tiny times, and that's,
Okay.
I mean, like, even as a child, like Sunday school, like young, there would be no Sunday school, which means you'd have to sit in the sanctuary. So the sanctuary, like growing up, was always like the place for the adults, not a place for children.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah. We have one comment that says my church has a young adult ministry, which is college age to 35.
That's progressive.
Yeah,
Very progressive.
that is that's rare. Thank you for that comment, for sharing that. Um, wow. I mean, and I know we had here's the thing that I'm going to bring back up again, Nate, because of what
Okay.
Carver just said.
Okay.
And I got jumped on last time I mentioned this about Pastor voting. In his comment, and I'm not,
voting.
and when I threw it out there, I was just giving out information. I'm not saying I
Right.
was for it or against it,
Right.
but I'm reminded again of that statement of him saying that the youth ministry, to have a youth ministry, is dangerous. And he said for that very reason that Carver just explained. He said because they're not used to, when it's time for them to go to the sanctuary, they don't know how to conduct themselves. They don't know how to listen, because they're going from fun, snacks, laughter, videos. And I said those things are bad, but now you matriculate into the sanctuary, and it's kind of like, okay, are we losing them because of that hard move? Because again, I know you don't like me doing a comparison, Nate, but I just
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
I do it because everybody's not a stark believer, have been in this thing or committed to it heart wise,
Definitely.
like some of us are.
Absolutely.
So that's why you get those situations where when people graduate from college, if there's no plan, or if they graduate from high school and they don't have a plan, what do I do with my life now? People need to really look at that, and that I mentioned it last week to close out the show about discipleship. We really need to be doing our checks and balances to see, are we just showing up just to show up because this is the thing to do, and this is what my family gonna do because the word says, as for me and my house,
we will serve the Lord.
Exactly.
Right,
so in that, and that's great and all, but in that serving the Lord, it's got to be more to it than just we rolled out the church together, now we're home, everybody disperse and go to your separate rooms, go to your separate lives, because this very thing that Cara is talking about is probably happening to a lot of our people.
Yeah, I would agree with that. To that point, the previous comment you read was about the youth ministry going all the way from college age to 35. I mean, and then I think I saw another comment asking if the youth church was the culprit. Let me ask Carter this question. Um, Piggybacking off what Ray said, do you think there needs to be like a matriculation program, like maybe like a halfway house, so to speak, when you're leaving, one aspect of, church, the youth ministry, and it's more geared towards keeping you interested, so you have a little more creative things going on, more interactive stuff going on. Then you go into like the more serious lecture hall, sit down and listen, sanctuary experience. Do you think there should be something like an intermediary to kind of bridge that gap? Do you think something like that would help?
I mean, it's not that it wouldn't help. It's because I've actually attended churches where there was like a large population of people that were in my age group
Mm-hmm.
after being out of youth group per se. And it was a foreign subject to me because that, like Uncle Ray said, it's rare to see somebody or a church rather hosting and accommodating the millennial group.
Mm-hmm.
So being in that space, it's it can either go right or it can go south.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Because you do need, at the end of the day, for everybody to come to that portion, like you said, lecture hall. Because in the sanctuary, that is what church is you are being given a sermon, and it's very much like taking a lecture.
Mm-hmm.
You go to class and you listen to your professor, and they tell you what you're going to be needing to learn and how it's going to be applicable to your life and what you're planning on doing with your life.
Right.
And you need to absorb that information, and it's not all laser shows and hot shots and things like that, like it is in youth group, because youth group, and as much as I hate to say it, it's there to entertain your children, to keep them out the way, pretty much.
Sorry.
So
Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
because
All
you
right.
could
Keep
do
it
the
real,
same
Kara. Keep it
thing.
real.
Yeah.
Like you could put them in the same kind of idea, like school. I mean, you're in high school, you still got to go to class.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you still got to sit down and learn. And what do teachers do to pacify? They would put on a video.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, youth group, like the dancing and fun and all of that, it's like camp. It's having a fun time. Not so much really intaking what you're supposed to be learning.
Mm.
So then you go to the sanctuary, and now you don't know how to sit down, because praise and worship was literally jumping and dancing around and having all this fun. And I remember when we would go to sanctuary, because at one point in time there was no youth group praise and worship, so we would praise and worship in the sanctuary.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the most awkward, miserable experience watching, like, because everybody's too cool to do praise and worship with the adults.
Okay.
So you're watching your peers learn that the adult way is not the good way. Let's do it our way, where we just don't really do what we're supposed to. We're having fun. We have somebody babysitting us, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then you move off. It's kind of like Grownish versus
yeah.
what's the
Blackish.
actual show?
Blackish.
Blackish, and then going to Grownish. Like,
Yeah.
Zoe moves off and does her thing. And like she had a peer group. They were all going through it together and then learning, but it's still a whole big shebang.
Okay, can I ask this question though? Honestly speaking, did you really learn anything?
Kind of in the sense of how you learn in school. Like, I can just ramble off like the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Wow.
What does
So
that
you
mean,
just the basic scriptures or whatever.
Yeah, so you just learn like what you need to know, pretty much, and what they just say, what they hammer into you. Me, which is, it's like, for instance, for me, I remember pretty much everything. It's kind of weird how much I remember, but I don't
You,
remember
you know,
much.
I'll say this: having been, I was actually leading the youth group, teenagers, for 6 years at one time, and I'm not gonna say I nailed it perfectly, but I'll just say that I tried. I'll say not just me. We had a staff that was assembled in a way that we wanted to make sure that, because you had your older people, it was myself and two other people, so that we could give that balance of trying to get the young people on that page, and then you had about three other people who were closer to the younger age of 19, 20, 22, that type deal, who could try to balance things out. And we tried to come up with topics that they face every day, that when they go to school they could like think back to what was discussed. That was always our goal when we approached walking in and doing any type of service with our young group. We
Mm-hmm.
want to empower them that when you leave us, you will know what to do when you're faced with the situation, walking down that hallway, walking on those school grounds, or whenever you're with your friends throughout the week. That was our attack.
Okay.
Don't really know how successful we were, because I'm no longer there, and they've all grown up and gone on. But I think it's very important not to just entertain, like you said, Cara, throw on the video and just laugh it up. But really, we have to prepare people, because life is happening. It's happening big time, and everything is being thrown at you, even the kitchen sink. And just like your parents, you got to prepare to be able to use the word and fight with the word. And I know a lot of people probably, when something is foreign to you, it's uncomfortable. I know if everything was given to me in another language that I don't know fluently, that I can't speak fluently, I would probably defer to that, and I would probably want to pull away, because I'm not comfortable with the unknown. So I really think that we have to do a better job with preparing the young people. I have a comment here that says the school system is a prime example. You start at elementary, then middle school, high school, college, etc. It's readiness. It's readiness. You start with milk before you move on to the hard food. Yep, that is
So,
so true.
let me interject here.
Okay.
I kind of want to pull away from the youth aspect, the youth church aspect that we've been discussing, and I want to hear what I'm trying to hear. So, I'm gonna ask you, Cara. Um, what about the maturity aspect of being a young adult, understanding that the sanctuary is a place where it's more serious and more structured. Um, and what about the word being preached being good enough? Um, should are people leaving because they don't have that interactive experience, the theatrics, the make you feel good kind of experience that they had before became a young adult? Um, is that what you're trying to get at? Is that maybe a reason why people your age in your age group, or maybe younger, a little bit older, are leaving because they don't have that same experience they had before they moved on to the sanctuary? At the bare bones, the churches should be about learn about the Bible, learn the Word, learn how to live a good life. And why is that not enough?
I think with their, because the bare bones is really all you need, like you say. But then there is the humanism, the fact that we are humans and we err and corrupt. Things of that nature can come into a place of worship, and it becomes like high school, no matter how
Mm,
old you are, where yes, we're meant to learn the Word of God, and a person is put there at a higher power to help us get to that word and teach us. And then there are the distractions. Like, for instance, I just saw somebody we went to church with on Facebook talking about how people are quick to judge, but in the same boat, the same people who are judging are the ones who's sleeping around with everybody at the church. And I'm like, see, who has time for this?
Yeah. So it's the people then. It's that old adage, the people are just they're stirring the pot, keeping mess going, and no one wants to be around mess.
And it's,
Right.
yeah, like people, it's frustrating because and a lot of it, especially if you're staying in the church you grew up in, these older people have known you your whole life pretty much.
Okay.
And then you get to the sanctuary and you're considered an adult and you're starting to learn the drama. And it's just like, this is kind of weird. I don't want to be a part of this.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, can we this is good, very good.
Yeah,
good
Cara,
stuff,
you've given some really good commentary.
Yeah. So we want to bring in our other guest for tonight. So Cara, you're welcome to hang out still, if you don't mind. Or do you have to go? It's up to you.
I might jump off in a little bit because I do have to work early.
Okay. All right.
Oh yeah. Well, thank you so much, Cara, for joining us and offering your perspective. I think I speak for everybody listening that you offer some points that most of us probably hadn't considered. And to further the conversation, you did just that. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Cara. So I'm not gonna hold you up, man. So you can go ahead and step out of here and be safe at work. Make that money.
Yeah. Make that money. Don't let the money make you.
Love you, and I'll talk to you later then.
All right.
I love y'all.
All right.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, that was some good stuff.
Man, that was excellent stuff.
Really hadn't thought of it that way. Sanctuary being a punitive
yeah, wow. Yeah, that
measure.
That caught my my ear when she said that. I was like, wow. I mean, psychologically speaking, that it's punitive in a certain way, that says a lot, psychologically speaking, because it creates bonds and it creates memory strands and it creates all kinds of different things, associations and stuff like that in your brain.
Yeah.
I never thought of that. So that was very eye-opening for me.
Yep. And it's amazing how, and we're about to bring in our guests, but it's amazing how little things that we don't realize that can be done will make us look at things totally different, as things as being uncool or something I don't want to be associated with, something that's necessary, like going into the sanctuary, soaking up the word, the worship, or whatever is going on. That's necessary. But because of all the, how it's presented to you, it's that going back to the Cosby Show, that garbage, how it's presented to you when Cliff,
I remember
the garbage lid example of how Vanessa brought in her fiance to the family.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I remember when I was a kid, my punitive punishment was when I got in trouble, I would have to come downstairs and sit in a room with my parents and watch TV. And though that's cool. You spending time with your family, your parents, that should be a great thing. But because of how I was presented, how my time was presented to spend time with them.
Right.
It was because I did something negative.
Right.
And now you have to go down and sit and watch TV until. And I didn't want to do that. So that's just crazy how we can use something and just kind of mess up a good thing. But okay, so our second guest that we want to bring on is we want to hear from pastoral side of things. So we actually are bringing on Pastor Tyrone Charleston from Spirit and Truth Church in Nebraska, in Omaha, Nebraska, all the way from Omaha, Nebraska.
Wow.
And we like to welcome him with the big claps and the snaps. My brother-in-law, what's going on?
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, sir, how you doing?
All right, very interesting conversation you guys are having.
Oh
Yes.
man, this has been like I always say on the show, a riveting conversation. It's
Yeah.
we are learning some things today.
Yeah. So I don't know if you heard anything that was shared from the last conversation that we had with Kara.
I
But
heard everything.
okay, did anything you
So
want to chime in on?
Well, the church is messed up. We 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 messed it up because, and I was a youth pastor, my wife and I, for years at Straight Gate in Detroit,
okay,
and we've been pastoring now 26 years here in Omaha.
congratulations.
Thank you. But the church has messed it up because we've tried to take a world perspective and put it in place of what God has said.
Hmm.
And like she said exactly what's going on. Youth church today ain't nothing but funplex.
Mm.
Uh,
Mm.
in our confession, one of the things we say in our confession is, and this is found in Mark 13 and 37. Jesus said, "What I say to one, I say to all." And then Jesus made reference also. He said, "Suffer the children to come unto me, to come unto me."
Mm-hmm.
And we've been we. I'm gonna look at how I was brought up. I was brought up. Um, I was Baptist. I brought up in Baptist church, and you had Sunday school. And in the Sunday school, you had your time where you learned some things on your level.
Yeah.
And then after Sunday school, you were brought into a general session where you all discussed what the lesson was about. And then after that, you dismissed and everybody went to the sanctuary.
Right.
Everybody, the crying babies, the snotty nose, we
Yeah.
all went to the sanctuary. And most of the time you sat with your parent.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we come in, we think we got a better ideal than God.
Wow.
We got a better ideal. We got a better ideal than God. So we want to implement what the world is doing, which is physical, which is flesh,
Yeah.
and think that's going to turn around to what's spiritual, and it never will work. So
Wow.
we have substituted things for God. So now our children don't have a relationship. They have a relationship with each other. They have a relationship with the youth pastor. They have a
So
relationship
it's a social, almost like a social
exactly.
gathering.
And church was never called to be a social hall.
Mm-hmm.
Got you.
And we just we didn't jacked it up, and this is the condition of that's why our children go off to college and they come back and they abandon their relation. They never had a relationship with God. They just knew of him.
Wow.
They never fell in love with God
Right.
Wow. For themselves, huh?
for themselves.
Wow. That's a good point right there.
Mm.
That's so what's the turnaround factor then? Because we've been entertaining or trying to mask, as you say, like the world for a long time. So what do we do to kind of pull them back over?
That's the $1 million question.
That's the $1 million
Mm-hmm.
question.
But it cannot be done in the flesh. It cannot be done by entertaining. It has to be done by prayer, and it has to be you. We have to be led by the Spirit of God in order to bring this out of this rut. Now we not only faced with what we've been doing wrong for the past 15 years, but now we have to also look at the age in which we're living in, because the Bible talks about in Second Thessalonians 2 and 3 about the great falling away. So
Mm,
all that stuff is now compounded.
wow.
So we're doing whatever we can to hold our children by their shoestrings.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And this can only be solved by the Spirit of God.
Wow.
Because if we can't get them to fall in love with God, and if they can't see our lives, that our lives is not just Sunday, but our lives is a relationship with God every day of the week, then that's what's going to happen, and that's what's happening to our kids.
Yeah, we got a comment that says it's difficult for young people to rely on church when adults aren't being his example,
Mm-hmm.
being the example, and Christ's example.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is true. So that's we covered that youth transitioning from the youth church to the sanctuary. But as you know, Pastor Charles, and we've been talking. I shared a video with you. Me and Nate have been kicking it back and forth for a while.
Excuse
So
me.
you have some young adults, like in the late 20s, early 30s, that are just saying bye bye. So you mean to tell me they haven't connected from the transition from youth church to the sanctuary, and now they late 20s, early 30s, and they still haven't found their footing yet? What's going on with that? I mean,
It's an excellent question. Yeah.
Well, you showed me in the Bible where there was a youth church.
yeah, see, that's what Vody said. I'm just saying.
You, he says, "Suffer the children to come unto me."
Yeah.
Mm.
So you should, and I know a lot of people say, "Well, you got to look at it like this," but no, we if God can't keep you, then nobody can. But they don't have a relationship with God. They haven't fallen in love with God, and
That's so good.
that's not just for young folk. That's for old folk too.
Yeah.
But I have a relationship with God that has nothing to do with. Well, it has something to do with the church because I'm the church.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
just the church building, And
Right.
sometimes we get that confused too. But it's like, man, and I'm a probation. I deal probation with youth too, so I deal with them on both sides.
Yeah.
And we got kids that ain't never been to church, never.
Hmm.
Mm.
Wow.
But
Because they think it's boring. They think,
right.
yeah, it's corny.
So I've got this question that's resonating within me that I'd like to present to you, Pastor Charleston. Kind of based on what Ray just said about late 20s, early 30s, still getting up and leaving and not returning. They haven't fallen in love with God. But why is it that we see young people being drawn by other religious types of sects, uh, agnosticism, atheism? What is the appeal that they fall in love with these other things rather than what they've been taught in church all their lives, and then they decide to leave? And I don't want to call out any of these other religions, but you could just use your imagination. Um, but especially our young black people are being pulled away to different types of sects of religion, of Christianity, that have a form, but it's not the true gospel. But still, they fall in love with that and run with it, or they fall in love with I just don't believe anymore, or they fall in love with I'm not sure. Why are they able to fall in love with these things, but something about what we give them in church they can't fall in love
Well, one of the things is because the example that most believers has set for them.
with? Okay.
And so they're already bored out of their mind.
Mm.
They
Wow.
don't they don't
Wow.
have they don't have a relationship. So if I'm bored out of my mind, I don't have a relationship. I'm going to gravitate to whatever the next thing is,
Mm.
because that's all it is. We move from the next thing. We move from Facebook to Twitter, from Twitter. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
so that's the fast pace that we're living in. So people, they will look for other things. They will look for other things, but we have to realize things never satisfy. It never
Mm.
fills. Only the love of God and the relationship with God will ever fill your heart.
Mm.
And until they find that, now at the same time, as believers, what do we have to do? We have to love on them. We have to be
Yeah.
patient.
Patient.
And
Yeah.
and the most important thing, we can't be hypocrites.
Ooh, that's huge. That's
Wow.
huge.
Wow.
That's
Because
huge.
they're not listening to what you say.
They're
They
watching you
looking at
first.
Hmm.
they watching and they watching you close.
Hard. Hmm.
Wow. Wow. I got a comment up here that says, what do you think would happen if the youth were taught to have a relationship with God instead of church being a social setting?
And how do you teach that? to where it sticks.
You got to put them in there. You heard that song by Shirley Caesar, and uh, uh, she in that song she was saying that her and her sister and brother was playing church in the backyard,
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I
and
remember that song.
and then the one sister run and said, "Mom, Shirley out there playing with God," and she went out. She went out there and she found out she wasn't really what playing with God, because she had an encounter.
Right. Right.
God had uncovered himself to her. He had revealed himself to her. So now it's real.
Wow.
So until you have that experience, until you get that high of Jesus, and he is a high.
Yeah.
Until you get that high of Jesus, then nothing else can fill that place. So
wow. So it's almost like, I mean, and I hear you, and that makes so much sense, and that's true because the Holy Spirit draws. But man, how do we get them there? That's the thing about it, to be patient and to not just keep, jumping to the next fast thing, or the next fad, or this is boring and this can't hold my attention long. I mean, because yeah, like I said, because they are leaving, and one of the questions that came up, that I kind of shared with you, Pastor Charles. I don't know if you're ready to tackle it or not, but if they don't go, if not attending church, if they decide not to attend church, is that a heaven or hell issue?
no,
Okay.
that person I don't. There's a whole lot of things that we don't do as believers that will not keep us out of heaven. The only thing that can keep you out of heaven is if you don't accept who Jesus Christ and the personness of Jesus Christ. That's the only thing that can keep you out of heaven. Now the Bible does say, forsake not to assembly yourselves.
Right.
And that's for a reason. He tells us that for a reason.
Yeah.
Break it down.
Yeah, he tells us that for a reason. But if we have, because the church is not a building.
Right.
Now, do I encourage people to come to church? Yes, indeed. Why? Because there's fellowship there. There's growth there. You hear the truth there. Faith come by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So you have to hear the word of God. That's God's prescribed way. But you have to look at this. And sometimes we don't want to think about this. But what about people in parts of the world that there is no church?
Right.
Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
That's
so
true.
we always try to bring this thing down. God is bigger than us.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's so much. We put him in a box, man.
Right. He's bigger than our way. But you could bet this for sure. There's no one that's going to leave this earth that had not had an opportunity to accept Jesus Christ in one way or another. It might not be exactly opening the doors of the church, but because God's just, he's fair, right?
Yeah, he is. Yes.
So the little pygmy tribe.
Right.
How God does it, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know, but I know he's a faithful God. I know he's a just God.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You talking my language, sir. You talking my language.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much. I know that you are involved with a circle of pastors where you all come together and you meet up for prayer on a regular basis in Omaha. I don't know how much this topic comes up. I don't know how much other people of the churches are dealing with this. But yeah, it's something that really needs to be taken to prayer, so we can figure out how to plug that hole so that the enemy can stop. And my thing is this: if they don't go, as long as the relationship is still being built between them and Jesus, that's the thing.
It's hampered.
Yeah,
that's not God's best way.
Exactly.
That's not his best way. And you might be saved by the skin of it on your chin.
Right.
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 And then one thing I always tell our congregation, because sometimes we get frustrated with people. like with COVID and all this other stuff. But they ain't no need you fussing with people because people cannot receive God no further than their faith will allow them.
Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
that's good. That's
That's
real
true.
good.
And sometimes we try to beat that stuff into them, and that's a useless fight.
Useless.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It's God that brings the increase.
Yep,
Yeah.
that is true. That is
Mm-hmm.
true. So, wow, we have about 10 minutes left.
Man,
That time went real quick.
this
Went real
conversation.
quick.
This is another one of those subjects, man, that could take 4 or 5 parts
Yeah.
to fully just dig that thing out.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read a few of the comments that came in while you were talking,
Mm-hmm.
Pastor Charleston, and I'm gonna read through them. If y'all want to respond, you can. But I think we kind of covered some of the things that I'm gonna read off. Um, one says, "How much did we get from church sitting with the adults in what Carver described as being a punitive setting? How did that teach us to have a relationship with God?"
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the question right
Yeah,
there.
Kyra opened my eyes with that, man,
Yeah,
tonight when she hit
big
me with
time.
that. I
Yeah.
never saw it that way. Go to the
Mm-hmm.
sanctuary with your parents. Wow, that's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Our parent children home Bible studies still instrumental.
I think so. One of the things that we haven't talked about is just like school. When you go to the parent teacher conference, the teachers and administrators stress how important it is for you to have uh, involvement at home.
Exactly.
Don't just leave it all on the teacher. And so I think that parents need to, like you talked about earlier, very disciple and model the lifestyle. You need to be having conversations. You need to be encouraging prayer and worship in the home. So it's not just something you do once or twice a week outside the home, but it should become a familiar thing inside the home as well.
Yeah, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
That is true. Okay, a couple more comments and we're gonna wrap up. We cannot be hypocrites. Um, Microwave relationships are taking over the world.
Right.
That is so true. That is so true. We all have different levels of learning, and if children's church or youth church is set up or utilized, it should be a time to teach our children/youth about God on their level. Train up a child the way it should go.
Mm-hmm.
They won't depart.
Yeah.
Um,
Woo.
One thing you have to realize that even when you go to church, even when you're talking to adults who've been saved for years, when you sit there, what you're receiving is information. But in order for that information to become live to you, you have to have revelation. The logos, the word has to become rhema to you,
yeah.
Right.
and that can only happen in a setting because faith comes by hearing. Faith don't come by having heard. It comes by hearing and hearing and hearing and hearing. Remember, Mom used to say, "Boy, how many times I got to tell
I
you that
mean, like
before
I
you
said,
get before I get that
Right.
through your thick skull."
right, right, right.
Sometimes she had to tell us 100 times before the light clicked on.
Yep,
Mm-hmm.
that's true. That is true. That is so true.
But God's hand is not short
Mm-mm.
that He cannot save. If we
Yeah,
live, I'm convinced that the devil will never outdo Jesus.
that's true.
I'm convinced that the scripture says that if we lift Jesus up, not a denomination,
Yeah,
not an organization,
yeah.
but if we lift Jesus up, then He'll draw.
Mm-hmm.
And He does not need a PlayStation to draw.
Wow.
Mm. Wow.
That's a good word.
That's a
That
good
that is a,
word.
that is a great word.
That's a
That
good
is a
word.
great word. So, with that being said, um, Pastor Charles, I'm gonna thank you for joining us.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank
Love
you
you guys.
so much, man.
You
We
you,
appreciate
you
that.
definitely
I
dropped
appreciate this.
some good nuggets.
I
Definitely. Definitely.
appreciate the opportunity. You guys doing a
Oh,
wonderful job. I want to encourage you. Keep sending me the link so I can keep getting some information because
oh yeah.
we all gleaming. We
Yeah.
all gleaming, trying to, because we want to win. We love people,
Yeah.
and we want to win people for Christ,
Exactly.
old and young. Because
But
Yep.
there's some old fools out there too.
It is. It is. And they think just because they've been socializing or around the word for so long that they got it together. And
Yeah.
they don't. They just been around it, but nothing has penetrated.
Love you guys.
All right. Love you too.
Love you too, man. Appreciate it.
All right.
Ah,
Wow.
wow,
What you got?
man. I mean, I have so many other questions and other things just that can just be extrapolated from this conversation. It's just it's so involved. It's so deep. I see somebody comment saying we need to have a third show. Um, we might, I don't know. We have to talk about it, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's enough information there that you could possibly do that. But I really think the what we got out of it most is church ministries really need to foster and encourage people to have a relationship with God over everything else.
That's true.
That should be the primary focus through the preaching of the word, through discipleship, through modeling, to encourage people and teach people that a relationship with God is the most important thing. Draw nigh to God, and He'll draw nigh to us.
Yep.
And we need to learn. We need to be taught how to draw nigh. Man, there's so much there. But yeah, just the people who are on the fence about wanting to leave, maybe have left, think about coming back. You hear it said so many times. It's all about relationship, and you
Yeah.
really have to ask yourself, what is your relationship? With God, with His Word. What is your relationship? And can your choice not to attend justify not having a relationship? You know, so much there, man. It's just so much there.
It is,
I
man.
can't.
And and I think if nothing else, if people go back and listen to this, or if it gets around, maybe those who are walking away for those reasons that came up, last
Hmm.
week and they came up, this week.
Hmm.
The bottom line is the end game when it's all said and done. When we stand before the Lord, we were required to know Him,
Hmm.
and that was it.
That's His
So,
thing.
so,
Depart from
so
me, I never knew you.
exactly. So the thing of the matter is, sometimes we get so upset because, as one of the comments was said, that they're looking at people, they're looking for people to actually walk the walk and not be hypocrites. They're
Hmm.
looking for people to look like Jesus.
Right.
But if you don't find anybody in that season of your life, that's still not going to be an excuse that you can stand on when
Right.
it's all said and done. So my
Hmm.
point is, you can't let things distract you from getting what you need. And again, it may not be, because we said that it's not a heaven or a hell issue, but it may not be that you are walking into a church. But you got to ask yourself the question when it boils down to the end of the day. Are
Hmm.
you disciplined enough to lay out before God on your own and to study the word deeply, to tear it
Hmm.
apart, to find you in that word on your own?
Hmm.
And if you are not, then my encouragement would be to find a biblically based church that teaches the word, the pure, unadulterated word of God,
Right.
and not man,
Right.
or not gimmicks, or not tickling the ear.
Exactly.
That you would find that church, because you're not disciplined enough. And it's okay if you're not disciplined enough, because the bottom line is, when we shut our eyes on this side, when it's all said and done, we want it to be said, well done, thy good and
Hmm.
faithful.
Yep. That's what we want.
Yep, that's the bottom line. While we
That's the
do what
bottom
we
line.
do, while we talk about Him like we talk, it's not an argument to get somebody upset and frustrated, like, there you go coming at me. Nope. It's because what Pastor Charleston said when he left out of here. We love people, and we just want to make sure that we're doing our part winning them.
Hmm.
Yep. So,
Yeah, man.
good show, bruh.
Man.
Good show.
That was a good show.
Who would ever thought, man? And I'm bringing up a CMU memory, since Michelle hung out there this weekend. Who would have ever thought that we would be here talking soberly the way we're talking now, the way we were.
Man, if you guys only knew how immature and crazy we were about 30 years ago.
Wow, wow, wow.
Just ridiculous.
Who would have
Just
thought?
ridiculous.
Who
But
would have
now
thought?
look at us now. Yeah.
So there's a guy.
I know, right? That's
But
proof.
do you have a wisdom nugget, Nate, or are we just
Man.
gonna say lie on the
Let's
show tonight?
let's say a lot on all the wisdom that we got from both of our guests today.
Okay.
They both dropped serious nuggets that we need to consider in light of the topic of this conversation.
That's good.
Hopefully,
That's
people
good.
that are listening can take this information to their friends and family and use it to deal with any situations that they might be dealing with.
Okay. So the question is, are we doing a show next week, Thanksgiving?
You know what? We should take Thanksgiving off.
Okay.
Let people spend time with their families.
With the family.
We can go offline and talk about if you want to pre-record an audio one for the audio section of our podcast.
Yeah, we probably can do that, and we'll just
maybe 10-15 minutes something to the conversation, but
and just come back live the following week.
Yeah, well,
afterwards.
Yeah, I know you got some things going on that week, and I think I got some things going the week after that. But we'll work it out.
Okay, yeah, we're not disappearing.
We're not disappearing.
So, again, thank everybody for your support.
Yes,
for listening.
Yes. Thanks for all your comments, all your shares.
Yep, for inviting us into your space right now, because I know time is precious. So we hope that we don't waste your time, but we're actually adding to your life.
Yes, man.
So
yes, sir.
With that being said, God bless you. God keep you. And until next time.
Have a great week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, people.